Hello, everybody. Blind Metal Gamer here with you once again, and it is time for another vlog in um, what I'm calling my life experiences vlog as to how I became to be um, in this space and with the accessibility space and whatnot. So, in the last vlog, you heard me talk about my experience with public school and what that was like. Now, I'm going to talk about my experience with sub minimum wage. Now, in this, I am going to touch on public school a little bit to kind of give everybody a setup for the experience that I'm going to discuss today. And again, like with the last vlogs I've done, I'm doing these to focus on experiences, so any names or anything like that will be omitted, will be left out. So, I'm going to take you back to it was the end of my senior year of high school, and you know how when you're usually told, okay, go to college or pick a career. Well, that TBI that we talked about in the last vlog pretty much felt that I couldn't handle college. So, I was told, well, you're not going to be able to do that. And so, of course, that's off the table. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll get a job. And OVR, Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, what they do, for those who don't know, they are the ones that will help you as far as finding job placement or with higher education, things like that. So for me, my story with them is a little unique. At first, they were like, "Oh, we can help you with all this stuff, Blind Metal Gamer. We can help you get into college and fund it and get you all this stuff." So then when I went, I'm like, "Yeah, you know." And then when I went to public school, the plan shifted. You know, I guess they felt that after being evaluated, yes, because they have to evaluate you, I couldn't handle college. I wasn't made out for it. Okay, fine. I was going to accept it. I wasn't going to dwell on it or be demanding. So I opted to get a job. Now, little did I know what they were going to put me in. Now, OVR, they tried, to find different places, and we eventually got me a job with OVR's assistant at a place called FHI. And what this place was, unbeknownst to us, was a sheltered workshop. Yes. So I would work 5 days a week, full day, so 40 hours a week, and I would only, be getting paid peanuts. So I'll give you an example. So I'm pumped. So I was like 20 at the time, and I'm like, yeah, I get to work. Finally make that money, be myself, be financially independent, do my own thing. And ironically enough, I got a slap in the face when my first paycheck came and it was only $34. You heard me right, folks. My first paycheck at this place was $34. I was livid. I was pissed. And I'm like, no, this can't be right. What's going on here? So my family and I were just trying to figure out, okay, they might be taking out bus expenses or whatever. And I still kept getting paid these abysmal paychecks of like $34. So to kind of explain to you guys, so instead of being able to support myself and help my family at the time, this was 2003, uh, I was only able to go to a pawn shop and buy a used video game, wrestling DVD, or CD. That's all I had the money for. I mean, it sucked royally. So, um, after about 3 months of that, I said to heck with it. I quit. What I did was I called OVR, and my counselor at the time, I explained my situation, and she said, "Look, you've tried what we want you to try. Because at this time I was raging, okay, raging, and wanting to go to college. Everybody was going to college at UK or BCTC or LCC. I wanted to go. I wanted to be a part of it. Okay? And I'm like, why can't I do it? I was still very pissed off about that. I was very angry about that. Why can't I go to college? Why am I having to be denied when I'm in showing to God there's a way. So I left FHI in the fall of 2003, and with OBR's help, I got into the McDowell Center. And I received training to get my mathematics and my English skills for a brush up for the ACT. I didn't take the ACT, I took the Compass test because the college I was going to go to offered the Compass. So, okay, I took the Compass, I get in, and I'm like, yeah, I get to go to UK, I get to stay in the dorm, in my early 20s. I was like 22 at the time. This was like 2005 when all this went down. So I get in, right? I move in, and I'm thinking, yeah, OBR is going to hook me up, right? I'm going to get hooked up with all this technology, a computer, a printer, basically everything I would have needed at the time, okay, to do my work. So I get there and I only get one piece of equipment. So to describe it, it was a big CCTV, okay? It was about as big, it would fit on a big table. And it was this thing that you would put your paper or your book under, and you would have to literally move that thing from side to side or up and down to read your documents and read your papers and books. And you can have it set on either black background with white font or white background with black font. That was the only thing I got aside from a talking scientific calculator. So I get to college, I get moved in. The first day of classes hits, and um, the math professor, I had to take a remedial math because I guess I didn't do as good as I was hoping I would do. So I took a remedial math, and the professor said, no, no calculator. I said, but I got this just so I could do this class, so I could do this work. She said, no, I'm sorry, no calculator at all. You got to go get a letter of accommodation. So I go to the disability office, right? I go to the disability office, and this really kind of irked me too, because before I arrived, they were like, yeah, Blind Metal Gamer, you're going to have all these social opportunities. All these great things are going to be yours, and we can help you. So then I get there, I go there to talk to the disability person to get a letter of accommodation for this math teacher. And the receptionist looks at me with a straight face and looks at me and she says, do you got anything better to do? I'm thinking, really? I'm thinking I'm in need of this letter here so I can get what I need to do my work and do what I need to do for my higher education so I can pursue careers and all this. And all she wanted to ask me was, you got anything better to do? I'm thinking, really? I'm thinking, I did all that for this? So I'm like, okay, I get it. I had to go on to my next class, which I did. And that English 101 professor was amazing. He was awesome. So if Mr. John Scott is watching this, shout out to you, man. You tried your best, but you're awesome. You were awesome. But anyway, so the English professor was going to check to make sure I had everything I was going to need, right, for the computer, and so I could do what I needed to do work-wise. But unfortunately, it didn't get. I didn't really get that far because I get to my dorm room, okay, and I'm in my dorm. I'm looking at my syllabus, and the way the syllabus was arranged, and I'm going to describe it, it had your classes and then your assignments. So your class assignment. I'm looking at the at the math, okay, and I'm thinking, oh, this is not going to be good because they weren't going to get less. They were going to stack them on you, okay. They wanted. So for those of you who are wondering, for every hour in a college class, it's 2.5 hours out. So if you're, I was taking, I think it was like 4 hours, so two, four, 8.5, almost 9 hours of studying outside of the college classroom environment. So, you know, I was prepared for that because I knew that going in. But I'm looking at my syllabus and I'm thinking, is this really going to be worth it? Am I going to be able to succeed here? And I'm like, oh God, I'm not going to be able to do this. So a family member of mine called me up. They said, hey, Blind, how you doing? I said, not good. They go, what do you mean? I said, well, I don't got everything I need. They're not helping me. I'm not getting where I'm not going to, this isn't going to work. I need to bail. So they said, do you want me to come get you? I said, yes. So I thank God for my roommate and the acquaintances I made. They all helped me pack up and move out of my dorm room and get on the road home. So on the road home, everybody was asking me, hey, how was your first day of school? I said, well, that's all it's going to be. And they said, why? I said, because they didn't give me what I needed. OBR didn't give me what I needed. I didn't have the supports I needed to do college. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then I get home and I get settled in, and I get a lot of heat. I got a lot of heat from a bunch of people that expected me to do well in college, right? They expected you, boy, Blind Motor Gamer, you're going to do good in college, and it didn't work out. So, um, after taking a lot of heat, I I contacted OVR and said, look, I told my counselor at the time, I said, look, college didn't work out. I've got to get a job. And they said, well, do you want to work at FHI, the place that I discussed earlier? I said, no. I said no because they paid me sub minimum wage and I am not going through that again. So, okay, that, so after that, my counselor changed again. So when I met my new counselor, he and I met. He was a local guy from my hometown. So we met and he said, Blind Metal Gamer, how do you feel about volunteer work? He said, you won't get paid for it, but it'll build your resume. I said, yes. So I started working at a senior citizen center in my hometown. And then I worked for the Salvation Army in my hometown, doing the various mail sorting tasks, running their front desk, doing that type of work. Then in 2008, I met a guy, and I want to give a shout out to him. His name is Milton Tyree. If you're watching this, you rock, man. You really helped me a lot, and thank you for helping me to get where I am today. So he helped me get the job I have now, and I work now for the state government as an office support assistant. And when I started my job in the fall of 2009, my duties consisted of, again, front desk, answering phones, greeting visitors, doing like shredding, typical office work. Then the pandemic hits. Okay, so from 2009 to 2020, I was doing your typical front desk work, right? So 2020 hits, the pandemic hits, and we're all in lockdown, right? What's Blind Metal Gamer gonna do? They said, okay, Blind Metal Gamer, you're gonna work from home. They said, have you thought about doing notes? I said, well, I could try. And so they did me a test run. I crushed it, and that kind of morphed into, okay, you're gonna do notes, and this is what I do now. I went from sub minimum wage, not being able to do college, to now doing notes for various LRC committee meetings, various work-related meetings, other committee meetings that are related to my work, and I also review websites for accessibility, and I do presentations when needed. So, I went from sub-minimum wage to where I'm at now. So I went from being only paid $34 and for 5 days of work for 40 hours a week to now being able to support my family, support myself, do things I like, upkeep this YouTube channel, upkeep my content creation, and much, much more. So, to conclude the vlog, I want to say, if there's anybody going through the same situation, don't give up. Don't think it can't be done because you can do it. You just got to find your niche, find your footing, and do what you do. So, with that being said, this has been my experience with sub minimum wage and college. I wanted to kind of combo these into one combo. So with that being said, I've been Blind Metal Gamer, and the next vlog you will see from me is how I became someone with light perception and what technology I use today for work and play. So with that being said, so long everyone, stay cool and stay safe, and peace out.